Is James Madison the best group of five team in college football? So far, the Dukes are making a strong case, but there are some other teams you definitely need to keep an eye on. The group of five is a very entertaining group of college football so far this year. And today we're going to take a look at who so far has proven to be the best of that group. We'll start with James Madison. This is a team that continues to play a really fun style of football, and the offense obviously has been really good thanks to the addition of Jordan McLeod from the transfer portal. He has been a great addition to this offense, someone who has helped make this offense more explosive, more dynamic, and more versatile because of his ability to both throw and run. Kalen Black's emergence in the backfield has been really fun to watch as well. And you have two wide receivers that are averaging over 23 yards per catch. So this is an offense with plenty of explosiveness. And we knew that they had the potential to do that. And I don't know if anybody expected this, especially after what we saw last year. If anything, I thought people would expect them to take a tiny bit of a step backwards, but that has not been the case. They've done a great job of moving the football, and they've relied on a defense that is also very interesting. When you look at what this defense has done, defending the run is a strength for them. They're averaging 38.6 yards per game against, which is insane. Now, on the other side of that, they're allowing 311 yards through the air, which just doesn't really make any sense. It's kind of hard to wrap your brain around how you can be so good at one and so bad at another. But this is a defense that flies around, and the front seven, incredible. Probably this is the example or the case in point of what this defense is. The front seven is incredible, super good, lots of explosive, disruptive playmakers. Jalen Green is having a career year. James Carpenter is doing what was expected to do. And then you look at guys, Chroma, Kamara, those are two guys that stepped up in a big way and made life difficult for everybody. The back end is really where they've struggled. So you're going to have to figure some things out, how to maybe get more towards the middle of that in terms of defending the pass, maybe getting after the quarterback more, which is hard to say because when you look at the guys we just talked about, you're doing that a lot. So I don't, it's just feast or famine. It feels like with the passing, but James Madison is definitely a team that has been very good. They are very talented and they have been really fun to watch. Now, this will be in no particular order other than just they're in the conference order from alphabetical from top to bottom. So we'll start with the Memphis Tigers. Memphis comes in at 4-1, and the loss to Missouri wasn't great, but you also saw some really exciting things from this group. I think Ryan Silverfield really needed a season where the Tigers were competitive, and the American feels like it's in kind of a down year. So they have the opportunity to compete for an AAC championship. Seth Hennigan has done a great job of being consistent for the most part. I think there's still some things you'd like to see him work on, but he's found a new favorite target in Rock Taylor. That's been a really fun combo to watch. And lately, it's been really explosive. Blake Watson proved to be one of the best transfer portal additions, and he is already almost at 700 yards for the year, 7 touchdowns. They've done a great job of getting him involved in many different ways. Problem is that the last few games have not looked great. That's probably my biggest concern with Memphis. They struggled to beat Navy, they lost to Missouri, and they struggled to beat Boise State. They needed a special teams play to get them over the hump there. So there's definitely some concerns about what they have going forward, but this is still a better year than I think some people expected. And the fact that they're 4-1 gives them some confidence going forward, but it might be a little bit difficult to sustain that. It'll be interesting to see what this group can do to continue winning at this clip because right now there are some concerns about the last 3 games. And if they can figure out a way to solve them, then those concerns probably go away. Tulane's an interesting team because they have one loss, so that kind of gives them a little bit of a knock, but the fact that they didn't have Michael Pratt against Ole Miss feels like that was a big difference. It feels like if they had Michael Pratt, maybe you're looking at a different result. You're looking at potentially a, a team that is undefeated in a way, because I think that this defense gave Ole Miss plenty of troubles. And if this offense had their starting quarterback, then maybe you see a different result. Nonetheless, this is still a really fun team. I think that now you have Pratt back. Horton did a good job of keeping things afloat, but now you have Pratt returning, and I think this offense is much better because of it. The defense has been kind of surprising. I think that we expected some good things from the returners, but you had some questions about the new starters that would have to step up. And so far, they are delivering. And right now, it feels like they're still at the top of the AAC. Again, we should have expected that. You kind of had Tulane, Memphis, SMU at the top, and Tulane definitely deserves to be in that conversation. There's still plenty of openings for the race through the NY6 spot, and Tulane is looking to get it back on top there and getting back to that game. And now having a healthy Michael Pratt, hopefully for the rest of the season, means that we can expect them to compete with everybody else. Next up is the Liberty Flames, officially a Group of Five school, no longer independent. They are doing a lot of exciting things, but that shouldn't be surprising when you saw what Jamie Chadwell did at Coastal Carolina. You kind of expected with the offensive firepower that was returning, you expected this group to be really good. And so far, they have put together an impressive season. You've seen some explosive results, and you're seeing one thing that was probably the most surprising is Caden Salter taking the starting job. Between him and Jonathan Bennett, we kind of expected a quarterback battle, but it really has been anything but that. Salter has taken over the starting spot and has not looked back. And right now, Liberty is running the football at an explosive clip. They are able to move the ball efficiently on the ground, and that has been really fun to watch. The 7.26 yards per play shows that they are an explosive group. And when you look at the wide receivers and the averages they're having between CJ Daniels and Treon Sibley, those are two guys that you can rely on. And when you're running the football as well as you are, it allows you to use play action and move the ball down the field even more efficiently there. The defense has been solid too. I think they're good at stopping the run, and so far defending the pass has been a success as well. So that's definitely another part of this equation. And so far, Liberty appears to be on track for their goal of competing for a Conference USA championship. Going into the MAC, this is a little bit different because there are a few options, and Miami, Ohio is one of those teams. Do I have the confidence that Miami, Ohio is going to compete with the best of the best in the MAC? Yes, I do. And normally in the past, it's been, I think Miami is a solid team, but I don't necessarily know if they have what it takes to compete for a MAC championship. And this year, it feels a little bit different. Brett Gabbert is having another solid season. He has solidified himself as QB1. That has been very helpful. The passing attack appears to be in good hands because of him, and the emergence of certain receivers has helped a ton. I think that Joe Wilkins is a big time playmaker who has yet to show us his full potential, and he is on track, I think, to do that. And I think you have a lot of talent in the passing attack that can help when you're looking at competing with teams in the MAC. The biggest game for Miami was the Cincinnati game. We knew they weren't going to beat Miami. That wasn't expected, even if some people thought that way. But the game against Cincinnati was where we were going to find out how good this team could actually be. And the fact that they were able to go to Cincinnati and come out with a win shows us they are ready for certain competition. Now, whether or not they are equipped to win in a New Year's Six spot, we don't know, but that's why we have most of the season remaining. We will see how good they can be. And playing in a MAC that appears to be a really fun conference this year is their biggest challenge right now. Ohio got off to a rough start, and you have to play that what if game with this team because you have to wonder if Curtis Rourke did not get hurt against San Diego State, would Ohio be undefeated? Now, there are arguments on both sides. You could also make the argument if they beat San Diego State, maybe they don't beat Iowa State because of the demeanor they have. They found a way to stun Iowa State at home. I'm also shocked Iowa State went on the road to Ohio, but still, this has been a really interesting team. The more interesting part about it, though, is the fact that with the offensive firepower they had returning, with Curtis Rourke, Sia Bangura, O'Shawn Allison, Sam Wiglas, you have so many playmakers that you could utilize, but it's been the defense that has stepped up. Ohio is allowing just under 11 points per game. They are stopping the run at an effective clip with under 70 yards per game. They are limiting explosive plays, and they are limiting teams on the scoreboard. The fact that San Diego State was the highest scoring team against them at 20 points says a lot about what this defense has done to step up when they needed the most. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on. And in this conference that's full of playmaking talent on the offensive side of the ball, Ohio may have the difference with their defense. Toledo is looking to defend their crown atop the MAC, and it's almost interesting, right? It's really exciting for them to have this explosive offense, over 40 points per game. It's been interesting to see the development of DeQuan Finn, and you have to wonder what would have happened if they found a way to hold on against Illinois. They had Illinois on the ropes, they were up late, and Illinois needed a last second field goal to pull off the win. So far, they have done a great job of, I think, moving on from that and finding ways to be essentially a good unit as a whole, a good team as a whole. And there's been some tough games. Obviously, the Northern Illinois win last week wasn't super encouraging, but you found a way to win. The San Jose State win appears, I think it's a better win than what you'll see in terms of how San Jose State ends up. But I think Toledo definitely has some struggles right now. They're having a little bit of a roller coaster, but this is still a team that's really fun to watch. They're an explosive offense with a defense that appears to be kind of figuring things out. I think that if they are able to get the defense up to speed, then this team is even more terrifying. And like we mentioned, Ohio and Miami of Ohio, and there's probably a few other teams that want to compete with Toledo to knock them off the top of the MAC. But this is a team that definitely deserves to be in that conversation. They deserve the respect that they're getting. And it's going to be fun to see what they can do for the rest of the year against MAC competition. A team that surprised us in all of college football so far is the Air Force Falcons. For a lot of people, including myself, you thought that Air Force would take a step back. With the amount of talent you lost on both sides of the football, there weren't too many that thought that this group could be undefeated at this point. I think there were definitely some who believed they would lose to the last three games that they played. A lot of people expected this to be a 2-3 football team. And all Air Force has done is play even better defense than they did last year and continue to run the football like they normally do. The biggest difference, though, is their offense is scoring points at a crazy pace. They scored 49 points against San Diego State. They scored 45 against San Jose State, 39 against Utah State, 42 against Robert Morris. The puzzling one is against a bad Sam Houston team, you only scored 13, but still undefeated, and they are taking care of business. They are scoring points at a crazy rate for Air Force standards. And that's been really fun to watch. And the fact that they're not really changing their formula, they continue to run the football. They're averaging nearly 330 yards per game on the ground. They continue to do what they do best, which is run the football and then run the football some more. They are not interested in a passing attack for the most part. They want to run the football. They want to play really good defense. And so far, they're doing that. And for the fact that they've lost so much talent on this defensive side of the ball, too, and that the fact that they're still playing really well on that side says a lot about what this team has done, what guys like Trey Taylor, Alec Mock, and others have done to get everybody else up to speed. Shows a lot about Troy Calhoun's squad, and it's a reason why Air Force is one of the best in a talented and very competitive Mountain West. When you look at the best teams in the group of five, Fresno State is definitely in that conversation. I mean, there's an argument that they are the best. When you look at what they've done so far, it's been an impressive run. This feels like a very complete team and a team that definitely deserves to be in the NY6 conversation. When you're looking at who should be the best, I think that, to me, in my opinion, Fresno State, James Madison, and I could see Air Force, Tulane being in that conversation, but Fresno State has done a great job of at least putting their name into that conversation and making everyone know they are a legitimate team. One of the best additions in the transfer portal has continued to be Mikey Keene. The UCF transfer finally is in a system that fits his skill set better, and he has done a great job of getting the Bulldogs to another level. They are throwing the ball at a crazy pace right now, and they are moving the football down the field efficiently. And when you've lost Jake Haener, I think a lot of people expected play at the quarterback position to take a step back. Now, you can make an argument that that is still the case, but Mikey Keene has done a great job of getting this offense up to that speed if they're not eclipsing it yet. And I think that the balance in this team, even though it's clearly a team that wants to throw the football, more than they want to run the football. The running backs, Elijah Gilliam and Malik Sherrod, have been really good. Sherrod's averaging 7 yards per carry, but the passing attack came into the year with a lot of unknowns. When you lost the amount of talent you did, you lost certain players that you thought would hurt this program a ton. You simply just reloaded. Eric Brooks is having a career year. Jalen Gill is one of the better transfer portal additions from Boston College. He is having a good year, leading the team in touchdown receptions. Jalen Ross is a solid option as well. There's plenty to like on the offense. The defense, despite the last 2 years, they have lost a ton of talent on the defensive side of the ball. So despite those losses, they continue to be a factor. And that's been really encouraging. I think the secondary is loaded. I think that the front seven, even though they're looking to replace certain players, found plenty of talent to make that happen. And it's been really fun. Like I said, this has been a really good team. It's not that they rely on the offense to do everything. They don't rely on the defense to do everything. They are playing really well as a collective unit. And it's a big reason why I think Fresno State deserves to be at the top, if not in the conversation for top group of five team. UNLV has been a surprise this year. When you look at what happened with Marcus Arroyo, you thought UNLV had the potential to be a team that competes with the best of the best in the Mountain West. And it just didn't happen. Now Barry Odom is taking over, and he has done a great job of getting this team to buy in and believe and find ways to win gritty games. And so far, there are certain games that you maybe didn't expect them to struggle as much as they do. But then again, you also had games where they, they found ways to win. And so far, they have done a good job of dealing with adversity. Doug Brumfield's down with an injury, so Jaden Maeva has stepped up in a big way. And I think the offense has done well, even without Brumfield in the lineup. Now, that being said, there are certain things with the defense that you'd like to see them improve upon because you're not going to be able to win games scoring 40 plus. You might be able to score 40 plus, but you cannot give up almost 30 points a game and expect to win. That has to change. And the offense has been obviously a strength, but the defense will be probably the one concern going forward in terms of what they're going to be able to do with some of the best teams in this conference. Because we just talked about Fresno State and what they can do. Air Force can move the ball really efficiently. And that's just two of those teams that you should be worried about. There are plenty of teams that can do some damage. And if you're able to slow down UNLV's offense, they've yet to show that they can hold the team in check defensively. Wyoming has a big game this week when they face Fresno State, but this is a team that plays a little bit different style of offense and defense. I think that you're looking at a defensive minded team that likes to run the football and knows how to win in very big games. Now, obviously, the Texas game didn't go their way, but the 31-10 score is a little bit misleading. It felt like Wyoming hung around for longer than people expected before Texas finally pulled away. Now, the last couple of weeks have not been the most inspiring performances, but they did find ways to win. They're sitting at 4-1, and there's not much really that you could ask to go better. And the defense has played a big role in that, but the offense has also done its part running the football. Harrison Whaley and Sam Scott are incredible options right now. Scott's averaging nearly 6 yards per carry. Whaley's averaging nearly 9. So there's been a good amount of focus on running the football. And now they have Andrew Peasley back healthy. It just comes down to how efficient are they at passing the football? How can they move the football down the field? And what can they do to help the rushing attack? The defense also, I think, has been good, but there's still some improvements that can be made. With the amount of talent you have in that front six, the secondary appears to have some guys stepped up. And if they're able to make that more of a consistent effort, then you're going to see a group that'll improve statistically. Now you're going to face a Fresno State team that is extremely explosive. So we will see just how good this Wyoming team is. If they find a way to win that, they find themselves as one of the favorites in this conference. And a lot of people, including myself, I think expect Fresno State to win, but do not sleep on Wyoming. They are still a very dangerous team. And now we go to the Sun Belt. I think that there are some teams in the Sun Belt that when you're looking at the group of five in terms of the NY6, you have certain teams that you can talk about that have the potential to compete with a Power Five team. And that's a reason why I don't have Georgia State in this. Marshall is definitely a team that has the opportunity to prove its worth this weekend. They already have a win against Virginia Tech. Now they play North Carolina State. If you find a way to beat NC State, then you are in the driver's seat, in my opinion, in this conference. This is a conference with a ton of talent. You have teams like Troy and Coastal Carolina that aren't having their best seasons, but definitely can pull off an upset. Georgia State is definitely a team that will compete for the top of this conference. But one of the beauty and the curse of a loaded and competitive conference is that you get a lot of entertaining games, but it also means that you essentially eliminate yourself from contention because you have too much parity and no one can differentiate themselves over the other. However, Marshall is a team that has been competitive in this conference and has an opportunity to go 5-0 and add another Power 5 win to their resume. These are teams that we're looking for that can compete with Power Five competition because when you play in the New Year's Six bowl game, you are most likely playing a Power Five opponent. So you have to prove that you can beat those teams or at least play to a level that shows that you're capable of doing that. Now, Marshall's offense still needs to find balance. Rasheen Ali cannot be the only one doing anything. In fact, there's only three players that have run the football for Marshall this year. The passing attack really comes down to what Cam Fancher can do. And they have a big, I guess, like I said, a big game against NC State. If Fancher can prove to be an asset in that department, then this offense takes on a new level of success. The defense has been solid. I think that Charles Huff has done a great job of getting his defense to play at a respectable and consistent level. And you will get tested again, like I said, against NC State. So finding a way to win gives you essentially control in, or at least put you in the conversation. With teams like James Madison, you are definitely competing with some really talented teams. And like I said, finding a way to beat Power Five opponents gives you more respect and gives you more credit in terms of who deserves to be in that NY6 spot at the end of the year. The final team, and it almost feels like they still have to prove some things. But when you're looking at teams that have the potential to play against Power Five competition, having a good offense is a pretty good way of doing that. And Georgia Southern is definitely one of those teams. They are moving the ball through the air very well. And it just comes down to if Davis Brin can take care of the football. The reason why they lost by so much against Wisconsin is because Brin threw 5 interceptions. You simply cannot have that in a game and expect to win. You can't have it in the Sun Belt either and expect to win. This is a team that has a lot to prove still, and you're playing in a talented and competitive Sun Belt conference like we discussed earlier. So you have to find ways to be efficient, take care of the football, and move the ball explosively. And right now, this offense has too much talent to be slowed down by their own mistakes. If Davis Brin can figure this out and take care of the football better, because he's already at 7 interceptions for the year through 5 games. If he can take care of the football better and limits those turnovers, Georgia Southern's a terrifying team. Their defense isn't the best. They're not going to be a shutdown unit, but this is still a team that has plenty of opportunities to be the best in the group of five and compete for a New Year's Six spot. Yes, they have some things to figure out. They have some things to work on. So there's definitely some concerns going forward. But Georgia Southern, to me, is a team that definitely deserves to be in this conversation. And obviously, it's early. We're only 6 weeks into the season, but you have opportunities for so many different teams to step up. There's plenty of season left for these rankings that you'll see to shake out. But for me right now, Fresno State and James Madison sit at the top, but they have plenty of competition right behind them.